Hi, if you're anything like me, you're probably better off not trying stunts and reading about them instead. I'm not having much luck. Perhaps it would be better to have just read this book, Masters of Disaster by Gary Paulson. In this story, three boys, best friends, take on quite a few stunts to break world records and to prove that they are masters of adventure. Henry Moseley is their leader. He's the one who comes up with all the ideas. His two friends are Riley Dolan, he's the record keeper and the researcher of the group, and Reed Hamner, who is the one who ends up doing all the stunts. They go ahead and decide to become men of action and daring, masters of adventure. Well, we'll see. Doesn't daring usually mean painful? I don't like pain, Riley said. Oh, there might be some pain, Henry allowed, but not much. Probably. Hardly any. Maybe a little, but no blood. Definitely no blood. Well, okay, maybe a smidge, but not enough to worry about. Don't worry, Reed, Riley said. I know a website where you can draw up your last will and testament. And although he was only 12, Riley had already written several drafts of his own will. He liked to be prepared. Henry waved the legal pad, which was covered with sketches and formulas and diagrams and notes and printouts from web articles, as if he were swatting away Reed's worries. We have to do something that breaks a record. He paused dramatically. Henry jotted a few more notes while Reed stared off into space, thinking of how much he loved his family, even his third little sister, and how much he would miss them. Kind of when Henry's record-breaking plans got him killed. Because breaking records went hand in hand with the possibility of death. No one ever broke records by sitting quietly, petting the cat. Breaking records usually had to do with speed and sometimes sharp objects or explosive devices, and paramedics standing by with a defibrillator and fire extinguishers. You can read more about their adventures in Masters of Disaster, or perhaps you would rather be thinking, using your thinking skills instead of your athletics skills for your adventures. In which case you might want to read The Get Rich Quick Club by Dan Gutman. Gina Tumola wants to amass a fortune at a very young age. She enlists the help of two classmates, Ron Honeycutt, the genius of the group, and Quincy Biddle. She's the artistic, creative member of the group. And there's two younger twins who just attach themselves to the group. They form the Get Rich Quick Club. Here's where their ideas start. Say that again, Rob said excitedly. So I said it again. You think you're going to get rich quick washing cars? You might as well wait around for a UFO to land in your backyard. That's it. Rob bounced up off the bench like he had springs in his feet. He paced back and forth at as the idea formulated in his head. We all watched him. You could almost hear the synapses in his brain firing like machine guns. He had a wild, excited look in his eyes. It was the same look that you see in the eyes of mad scientists and lunatics in movies when they're planning to take over the world. If this had been a cartoon, a giant light bulb would have been floating over his head. I had the feeling that he was going to come out with something totally brilliant. What is it? I asked. I just figured out how we can make $1 million, Rob announced enthusiastically. It's simple, it's easy, and it's quick. What? What? We all begged. We'll have a UFO land in our backyard. What a letdown. Here I thought Rob was going to come up with some brilliant plan. My heart sank. I hate to break it to you, Rob, I told him, but there are no UFOs. Even if there were UFOs, it's not like you can tell them where to land. I know, there's no real UFOs, Rob said, still with a mischievous smile on his face. But what if we make our own UFO? There's a lot of thinking that goes on in this book. If you'd like a book that kind of combines both, you might like The Top 10 Ways to Ruin 5th Grade by Kenneth Darby. In this story, Tony Madison, usually he's called Tony Baloney, is enamored with David Letterman's show, and he works out a series of stupid human and pet stunts in order to get himself on the David Letterman show. There is lots of top 10 lists in this book as well. The one that actually lands in there is when he goes to a Kansas City Chiefs game and runs out on the field in a bear costume and gets the football down to the end field. Read all about his stunts in this book. And sometimes you might wonder where authors get their ideas. For example, Gary Paulsen talks about his childhood antics in How Angel Peterson Got His Name. Perhaps you can see this looks a little similar to Masters of Disaster. In this story, he talks about his boyhood friends and their stunts in growing up in Minnesota. In fact, Angel here was previously called Carl Peterson, tried to break the world speed record on skis, only he chose to do it on land instead of water. Gary Paulsen himself tried a few things himself. He was 12, living in northern Minnesota, had a river and a small dam with perhaps a 12-foot fall of water across the spillway. Remember these facts: waterfall, 12-foot drop. I had read an article in a men's magazine called The Fools Who Shoot the Falls, which described several men who tried to achieve fame by going over Niagara Fall in a barrel. There was something about it that drew me. I completely ignored the fact that the idea of falling 100 or so feet in a barrel was incredibly stupid. Here's how this stunt ends. But because there is a fate that sometimes protects idiots, a swirl of current caught the barrel and lifted it up to the edge of the spillway, where it teetered once or twice before it dropped off to the edge to fall the 12 feet below to the river. There, it would merely have sunk again, had not the same fate intervened to cause the barrel to slam down on a sharp rock exactly the way it needed to in order to break into 15 or 20 small pieces and leave me stunned, with a bleeding nose, sitting on the bank below the dam, contemplating the fickleness of fate, which endowed me with an uncanny, lifelong ability to identify with the hapless coyote in the Roadrunner cartoons. So next time you feel like taking on some stunts and you would rather be safer and smarter about it, you could read and enjoy the stunts of Gary Paulsen in How Angel Peterson Got His Name, or in his book of Masters of Disaster. You could think about how to get rich quick in the Get Rich Quick Club by Dan Gutman, or enjoy hilarious stunts in The Top 10 Ways to Ruin 5th Grade by Kenneth Darby.